What's up, everyone? Welcome back. So I've been excited for this particular episode for quite a while. I've been wanting to do this episode and even just at the very least tip the top of this story for so long. So I'm beyond excited. But before I get there, I did do a quick block drop like 20 minutes ago or so. For those who don't know, excuse me, there is a big major strike going on. The Kellogg's company is really doing its workers dirty and trying to not give the new school workers the same benefits as the old school workers. And it's not right, but we're seeing a lot of solidarity. I got a lot of footage from there today, and I can't wait to share more of it with you. So check out the previous podcast where I did share a little bit of footage from some of the speakers. Also, there is some other stuff that I do want to share with you on the next block drop, which will be after this podcast. So stay tuned, stick around if you're watching on YouTube, which should be the only place you can be watching currently since I'm banned from sharing anything to Facebook. And as well, for those who are aware or are not aware, Facebook is under mass scrutiny right now from the whistleblower who knocked the lid open concerning not only just the biased behavior that Facebook gives to certain demographics, but also the crash that happened the following day and the lack of transparency concerning all of that. So you definitely want to stay tuned for more information on current news, current events. Like there's oh my goodness, there's a couple of things I actually want to talk to y'all about. Smaller stories that's not getting mainstream attention as usual. You know I'm always big on that, touching on that. But in the meantime, we will be touching on history, ancestry, American history, not just Black history, but some knowledge for y'all. And today we're going to do it from the scope of a woman's perspective and women's history and the part that they played within this particular movement of the Christiana resistance. So stay tuned.
Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by cops than white men.
They don't want us to succeed.
How much more do we have to take?
Welcome back, everyone. So the moment I have been waiting for, and I hope you all have been waiting for it too. I am here joined by Darlene Colon, who is the president of the Christiana Historical Society and also a co-founder. The Christiana Historical Society has been functioning as a 501c3 since 2001. So it's been around for 20 years. Darlene Colon is also the vice president of the U.S. Colored Troop Institute, and also is a participant in the Pennsylvania Past Players, which is a first-person interpretation. They're like more than reenactors. It's more lively than you could ever imagine. And she also is the founder of the Lydia Hamilton Smith Society at McCaskey High School here in Lancaster City. She's done a lot of things locally, and she's a history buff for those local, whether you're a person of color or you're a big on history, which Lancaster is very rich with, whether it doesn't matter what era, doesn't matter what color, you are, Lancaster and Lancaster County is very, very rich in American history. And I am beyond delighted to have um, the president of the Christiana Historical Society and so many other great things in this area on the show, because this is an important part of history and it needs to be told, it needs to be brought to light even more. And I'm in particular very keen on trying to get as many lesser known stories and bits of information out through social media as possible. So I'm beyond delighted to have you. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Darlene Colon. Darlene Colon, feel free to say hi to everyone.
Oh, good evening, everyone. So happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, so I mean, I don't even know where to start. Well, for one, Darlene's my cousin. So my grandmother had told me about you, and coincidentally, it was at the same time that I happened to learn about the Christiana Resistance through Lancaster Stands Up, which is a local organization, and they didn't really give the story justice. And I saw your comment on the post and immediately reached out. Um, Long story short, I've been to the the what do you call it, the museum
hmm
numerous times with you to see not only the artifacts but the story and get to hear the story inside and out. And so this past month in September on the 11th was commemoration, the 170th commemoration, right?
That's
Um,
correct. Yes.
and so I got to finally see what I had been waiting for months, and I was blown away. And I got tons of footage from that day, and I can't wait to share that again. I tried to share it last night, and the music that I had to coincide with it did not play. So I'm going to have to re-air it tonight. So for those who want to check that out, if you don't stay up late, you can check it out tomorrow. Just go back on the YouTube channel for that. And for those watching who are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe, tell your friends and family about the Leon Block and about the Christiana Resistance. So Darlene, uh, it was such a pleasure to attend the commemoration. Um, but I don't think I was able to really do it justice in a sense of like showing the significance of what the commemoration was about without telling the full story. And even though we're not going to get into the full story today, I do, however, want to start with talking about the first woman, or the one that had the bullhorn, I guess you could say.
Oh, she was a fish horn. Yeah. Something they used back in the day. And that was Eliza. But I always start off when I talk about Christiana, because people are usually surprised to know that it was on September 11th, but in
Yes.
the year of 1851. And I always have a little, I guess, a little pre-dialogue. I always call it the clash of forces with freedmen, and freedom seekers, slave owners, bounty hunters, and abolitionists. So that's where boundaries were drawn on that morning. And there's so much to that story. But as you said, we want to kind of focus on some of the women that
Mm-hmm.
were involved. And the two main characters are actually the two men, William Parker, who was a freedom seeker, and Edward Gorsuch, who was a slave owner who actually came up from Maryland to reclaim what he deemed to be his property.
Mm.
But you had these women who were standing by their men, Eliza Parker and her sister Hannah, who themselves were freedom seekers. They escaped from enslavement in Havre Grace, Maryland, and made their way to Christiana, where she met and married William Parker, who was big on helping people maintain their freedom. And she did her bit just as well. Uh, the morning of September 11th, when the slave owner showed up, thinking he was going to surprise them. But I think, as I said, he forgot that he was in farming country and these people are up at before dawn.
Mhm.
But he was making his way and making demands, and it was Eliza's job to sound the alarm that they needed help. Her sister Hannah tried to stop her and said, "Let's just give up." And Eliza picked up a machete and said, "I will see you dead before I see you back in slavery."
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah. So
Huh.
that's how bad it was there. And she said, "Now I'd rather you die than go back to that." So Hannah backed up naturally, and Eliza went to the attic, the third floor, and blew a fish horn, which sounds
Mm.
a lot like the foghorns that they blow today at these football games and such. But while she was blowing it, the men in the slave owners' party started shooting at her. But she bent down and kept blowing, and that was the alarm in the valley that help was needed. So she did her part. She was not afraid. She actually had several children, I think 3 children at that point, that she had hidden away with some friends in the area so that if she didn't survive, they would.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that to be what she was willing to sacrifice for the freedom of others. And I looked to her and her bravery. Um, Actually, after this was all over, the militia came in from Philadelphia and they actually arrested Eliza and her sister. They were taken to Philadelphia to Moyamensing prison where they were held, and they were slated to go back to their slave owner. So they got a driver and a buggy, and they somehow, using, I guess, their lady wiles, convinced the driver to take them back to Christiana,
Uh,
telling them
uh,
that children were there. And all he saw was dollar signs because he figured the more he brought back, the more money he was going to get.
mm,
So he took them back to Christiana, and they pulled up near the house. And Eliza and Hannah said, "Wait here. We're going to go get our kids." And after about 10 minutes, he realized he'd been had because they went in the front and out the back and went through the orchard and made their way to freedom. Well, they actually made their way to a young lady by the name of Nancy Fulton, whose father was
mm,
Quaker, but he was a station master. Her father wasn't home, so she says, "I'm going to help you." So she took Hannah and Eliza, got them on a wagon, and started driving, and took them further into the country where they met an elderly Black woman. And she's like, "What are you doing with those girls?" And Nancy said, "I'm trying to get them to freedom. They're being chased." And the elderly woman said, "Leave them with me. I know what to do."
wow.
So Nancy took them, let them off, and this elderly woman took the girls and she got them hidden. So that they did their part there, as well as Nancy. So we had a number of ladies around the area who did their part, as well as
I will
the
I will say that like even with race involved, I feel like there was probably a great level of trust that they had to partake in to make sure that lives would continue. Um,
oh yeah,
I can't help but
that's
think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, that's no, that's I was going to say that's the one thing I say about Christiana. Um, During this upheaval, it's like regardless of the race, regardless of the culture, regardless of the religion, there
Mhm.
was one thing that they stood together on, and that was morality.
Right.
And at that time, I would say true Christianity at that time. and they were all willing to risk lives and property and what else to make sure that people were freed.
It kind of seems like an anomaly even today. The significance of that event and what happened and the part that it played, especially knowing the events that took place nationally after that.
Right.
To me, it just seems like Christiana at that time was just a one-off place that was very unique. I want to ask, was it predominantly Black people living in Christiana at that time?
No, I think it was largely a Quaker community. However, there were a number of Blacks there because they started to find out that that was a place they could come. They could get work because the Quakers were good about hiring. It was a large farming community. They could
Mhm.
work, they could get paid, they could have days off, they could have a home, they could have family. So it seemed to be the place to come to. And come
Wow.
to they did.
So I'm jumping around a bit. I don't want to
That's
give too
okay.
much story away, but
Right.
there were some arrests made. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to confirm, and I think I did ask you this, but women partook in being arrested as well, right?
That's correct. Yes.
And I just want to like compare that to the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s of a lot of revolutionary women that stood right along, or what I would say is appeared to stand right alongside men, but really it was women who always started and led movements. And I don't think that this was any different. If it wasn't for her with that bullhorn, um, I don't know. I just feel like things would probably be different. Like trajectory would have went a little different. Uh,
Yeah, they seem to get things started. Yeah, they were in prison, much like the women in the 60s and 70s, the Freedom Riders. The women were jailed right along with the men. The women of the churches, they were cooking chicken dinners and selling money to raise money for these people to get people out of jail. They played their part, and they were, like I say, on those lunches, lunch counters where they were getting food thrown on them and dumped on them. They had
wow.
the water hoses turned on them, just like the men, but they did their part, and that's what back in the day the slave owners were trying to tear us apart because it was their thing to separate us, turn the men against the women, the young against the old, the light against the dark. That was their philosophy. And they said that would keep us separated and cause dissension among our race.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and sadly, I still see some of that today, but that was
Oh,
their
very much.
ideal. And it was also used against us with the Native Americans because we had quite a bit in common with them.
Yeah.
Make the Native Americans, make them slave hunters, and take the African Americans after the Civil War and have them hunt down Indians. So it was all against turning people against people who were a threat to them.
Right.
So, but I hope slowly that we're coming back to it and we can see that.
Well, I mean, I'm here because I'm interested. I've always been interested in history, but I have seen an uptick in people being interested in collective, not just their own ancestry, but just collective history of America, because they're
Right.
realizing that we're never taught anything in school. And that's just all across the board, all ages, sizes, groups, shades, colors, and creeds. But with this specific topic, it's very empowering not only just to hear about the Christiana resistance, but the part that women played in this in general. Um,
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
want to talk a
there
little.
were.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there were many women all along the place. We had a woman in Chester County, a Quaker woman. Her name was Gracie Ann Lewis. She hid freedom seekers in her home, and even though she was raided several times, she was never caught. But she risked her life and her well-being. There was a woman in Philadelphia called Harriet Duterte. She took over her husband's funeral business. She was the first African American funeral director, female. And she began to have what they called fake funerals. But she would put a freedom seeker in a coffin and take them outside. Of course, we couldn't be buried in town. We were outside,
Right. Wow.
outside city limits. So, what better way to get them out of town? So, yeah, very crafty ladies.
Very, but that's really awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And I get tickled with that. I said, this is all the creativity in the freedom seekers and those and I give the kudos to the Quakers for their part in it. But I said those well, I wouldn't say African Americans because we weren't Americans at that point. We weren't even a person, as they said. We were 3/5 of a person.
Right.
Uh, we were handled in the tax records. We were with the livestock and the dogs and whatever else they could carry. But the creativity of these people in making their way to freedom, what they did was just, to me, phenomenal on many, many avenues.
Mm.
So that's, yeah. I could tell you stories and stories and stories, but don't get me. we'll get
Oh,
lost
look,
in.
that's what we're here for. Stories. I mean, this is part of what the Leon Block is about, is sharing stories and them being on record so that they're here and they're shared and they can be put out into the universe for more and more people to hear. Because we can't let this stuff just fade away. We can't let it sit in basements. We can't let it sit in minds. It's important to spread the word about the significance of this. Just as far as even just local history goes, is something to take pride in, but American history especially.
Oh yeah, so much was either changed or completely omitted.
Yep.
Because even growing up, all I knew of Black history was Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth, and that's where it ended.
Right. Yep. That's
Like I
right.
said, I knew nothing, and all we knew of Black people in that time was they were slaves. That was it. And even as I was in costume once, like you said, I'm first person interpretation. I portray a woman here in Lancaster, Lydia Hamilton Smith, one of the wealthiest Black
Yeah.
women, which people know. And as I was dressed in costume, as I can see on your picture there, she was a well-dressed lady.
Yes.
And I had a woman walk up to me and she says, I didn't know slaves dressed like this.
Ooh.
And I, I just looked at her and I said, madam, I had to stay in character because I was like, ooh. But I was like,
Yeah.
madam, what makes you think I was enslaved? I said, I'm a businesswoman. I said, I own 6 properties here in Lancaster. I own a property in Gettysburg. I have a boarding house in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
What, by the color of my skin, did you assume that I was enslaved? And I said, and all these people here with me, because many of my friends that were a troop, that at that time we were about 6 of us, all African American, all representing the wealthiest African Americans. And people don't understand during that time period, African Americans were some of the wealthiest people in this state. But they don't tell you that.
Right. They don't want people to know.
Oh no, no, we were the high. Matter of fact, there was at one point during that era that the highest illiteracy rate was among the whites and not among the blacks.
Ooh.
Because
That's some
we
juicy
actually,
news there.
yeah, because we were forbidden for so long from being educated that once we had that opportunity, we
Right.
jumped. we
That makes
jumped on it.
perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so yeah, lots of hidden history.
And that's the kind of stuff that needs to have more light shed on it. I dropped some links to the Google file with tons of photos that is on the Christiana Historical Society's Facebook page. And I also dropped a link to the comments for the Christiana Historical Society's Facebook page for those who want to check it out, for those who want to be added to the group, or even
Mm-hmm.
contact Darlene Colon for you can DM her straight from there and ask questions, or schedule a time and appointment to meet her at the museum and take a tour. It is a phenomenal story, but it's also a great property, a great area to check it out in general. The whole area there's so many different treasures to see. And if you're a history buff or just interested in this kind of stuff like we are, you will definitely find it as to be a great treat. Um, there's a couple of things I do want to touch on from the commemoration
Mm-hmm.
that I found to be really awesome. And I can't even touch on everything because there were so many things going on. But
Yeah.
what were their names? The ladies under the tent, the daughters of something.
Oh, they were the Patriot daughters.
The Patriot daughters. So,
Yeah.
do you have any backstory on that?
They were basically Patriot daughters they were like a ladies auxiliary, and they did fundraisers to help the Union soldiers in our area. They would send like medical supplies, bandages. When the men came home, they would have meals, that a type of thing. But they were very supportive of the Union soldiers.
Gotcha. I saw also there the Christiana Library
Mm-hmm.
had a stand with a bunch of books. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, they
There
carry
was
many books on the history of the resistance, and they also have a nice exhibit on the resistance with photographs, which include our ancestor Ezekiel Thompson.
oh, that I did not know. I'm gonna have to check that out. That
Yeah.
yeah, I need to see that. So Christiana, Pennsylvania is in Lancaster County. It straddles the border between Lancaster County and Chester County. For those who ever want to come to Lancaster County, there's a lot to see here and do here. It's a big tourism industry, and you definitely wouldn't be disappointed. Like I said, we're rich in history here, all kinds of history actually. There was the monument, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was two different uh
Well, the monument has four sides to it.
right.
One to commemorate Christiana altogether. One for Castner Hanway. He was the sole white man to be charged and tried because they thought they could get him tried. Everybody else was piece cake.
Wow.
Edward Gorsuch was the slave owner, and his name is facing south for his beloved Maryland. And on the other side were the 38 tried or arrested, and their names are facing north for freedom.
Hold on. So the white man that was fighting for the freedom of the black man is put on a separate side than the 38 other black men?
Well, he was put on there separately because of the way he was treated foully while he was in there because of his participation. And he got deathly ill while he was there.
Makes
So
sense.
they said he suffered. I mean, he suffered greatly, and he did that willingly.
Wow. There was two different posts set up on either side of this monument. And I really wasn't I sat and listened and I took pictures, but I didn't quite understand in full. Um, could you give me a little backstory on that?
The post onto one side, there was a small marker for William Parker. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, they said he was a lion because William Parker didn't take crap from anybody, especially when it came to freedom seekers and helping them. Uh, he created his own organization because there were bounty hunters in the town, and they were great for kidnapping people to sell them south. And as I said, they didn't care if you were free, freed, or seeking freedom.
Of course, yeah.
Their job, they wanted money, and he stood up to them. So that was his stand for that. And like I said, his own organization. And again, I will plug Ezekiel Thompson because he was a part of that organization.
Yes.
And they were injured many times in a fight with the kidnappers when they were trying to take someone who had been kidnapped. They were taking them back. So Christiana was quite a little haven for
Yeah,
action. I mean, it was all kinds of things going on there.
I see. That's whew. the so the other side of the monument was some listening to this guy. I mean, it's nice to have all different um a full picture of historical context, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like that guy was out of place at first, but then listening and watching, I'm like, I felt like, and if you know what I'm talking about, like I felt like it added to, in a good way, the ambiance of the whole event.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I didn't. Go ahead.
Well, that's what we try to do because, like I said, people want us to rip apart the slave owner. They want us to do this and just downplay. I'm like, no, what we're trying to do is to give you all sides of the story.
Right.
The slave owner was within his legal rights to do what he did. Fugitive Slave Act gave him that right.
Right.
Um, Even though it was reported, and I said to me that he was supposedly kind to his slaves and gave them their freedom once they turned 28.
Wow.
But I'm like, back then, 28 was practically a lifetime because the life expectancy was not near
Right.
what it is now. But we give his side of the story. We tell that of all those men and women who suffered through slavery and risked their lives and that of their family. As a matter of fact, the mother of Eliza and Hannah, they brought her to Christiana, and they threatened her because once Hannah and Eliza escaped, they threatened the mother. We will take you back into slavery,
Oh.
but we'll let you free if you tell us where they are. And she said, take me back.
I know that's right.
So she said, yeah, you take me back. My girls are free and they're going to
Yep.
stay free.
Yep.
So, so yeah, I said these women were no joke.
You know what? I can't help but think about how many women today are descendants that are living in this area that don't know they have like that kind of fight in them, you know?
Oh, my. Yeah. We are still looking for descendants of a lot of those 38 that were arrested. A lot of them after the resistance and after they got their freedom, they left the area. And I think a good many went to the Westchester area. Some
Mm,
they may have even changed their name, but we're still looking for a lot of those descendants because we want to hear their side, what was passed
right.
down through them. So there's a lot of, and I keep telling people, people are afraid that they're going to find slavery in their past, but I'm like, that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
Uh, when you see the strength and the determination, as I said earlier, the creativity of these people, you got a lot to be proud of.
That
In
is true.
spite of it all, they did it in spite of it all. And just like that gentleman who showed up, he walked from Maryland to Christiana, and it took him many days to do so.
That is
Can you
also one of the
imagine?
things I wanted to talk to you about as well. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
What was
yeah.
his name?
His name was Kenneth Johnston.
Kenneth Johnston. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. To listen to his stories about, and I said he did. It was something to do. I mean, to walk. Do you think about walking all that way? But think about what they had to do. They were walking, but he
Yep.
didn't have dogs chasing him. He didn't have bounty hunters chasing him.
Right.
He was just making the walk. But I said, put yourself in their context. They were sleeping on a hole in the cornfields and wherever they could sleep. Very little
True.
food. Like you say, not knowing who to chase, who's chasing you, what's chasing you,
Hmm.
and really who you could trust. So, and he, sadly to say, he told me a couple stories. He ran into a couple Karens on the way.
Oh
So,
boy, really?
yeah.
Not surprised. I mean, did they
Yeah.
know who he was or something, or they just
No,
happened to be
they
talking
didn't.
to him?
He was just, the one instance, he was in a park enjoying it. And he said he was leaving. There was some women there with their kids. And he says, enjoy this beautiful day. They said, we will now that you're leaving.
Oh, what?
And I was like, oh. I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, okay. So I'm like, very good. Yeah, they're out there.
They sure are.
Yeah, but luckily he only had few and far between, but they're out there.
Yeah, and I mean, just a black man walking on the side of the road or whatever,
Right,
it draws a
right.
lot of attention. So yeah, and that's quite a journey. So again, this man walked from this particular trip from Maryland, Baltimore County, which
Mm-hmm.
holds significance of where the, excuse me, the escaped slaves, or the enslaved slaves came from, and
Mm-hmm.
they made their way to Lancaster County. He wanted to exemplify the significance of that trip by walking it.
Right.
And
Right.
but he also has taken other trips for other means of significance as well across the U.S.
Yes.
And so just thinking about a black man doing that from time to time all across the U.S. brings me joy, but a great deal of apprehension, caution, worry as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, because especially in this day, and it's sad to say in this day and age,
Yeah.
I think he has spotters along the way, people that are meeting him at so many miles to make sure that he's okay.
Right.
But he's walking from Philadelphia to New York, or he's walking from several different places. And sadly, I can say today, how safe was he?
Right.
And you would think that this is something we could do with ease, but we can't.
Nope. All too real.
Yeah.
I'm just finding out about this green book that there was
Oh
for
yeah.
black people traveling, and I just
Hmm.
help but think that it's still prevalent today. Like we definitely
It
need
is.
a new version of it, but yeah.
Yeah. I have a copy of one from I think it was 1949 or something.
Wow.
But there actually was a couple places listed in Lancaster, a hairdresser they could go to, a gas station they could stop at.
Really?
Um, yeah. They had a couple places. It's filed away somewhere, but there was a couple places in Coatesville, again, gas stations or restaurants where they could eat. Um,
Wow.
But I've had many stories of people who went to visit families in the South, and they packed up everything that they needed to eat along the way because
Yep.
they didn't want to. They wanted to drive straight through,
Yep.
and that green book was a blessing to help them
Yes.
navigate.
Yes.
But you're right. I think they should do an updated version.
Yeah, they really should. I don't know if you know, uh, there there's women dying, black women in the St. Louis area every 3 days, and it is all the makings of a serial killer, but the media won't call it that. They actually won't even talk about it. Beyond the
I've heard
local.
nothing on that, but I'm
Yeah,
not surprised.
exactly. But the media would rather talk about Gabby Petito,
Yeah,
um, you know, and
and
so even
yeah.
say that again.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. Between the blacks and even the Native American women disappear at an alarming rate.
Right, that's right. In the
And
in the state that Gabby was supposed to be in,
mhm.
a lot of indigenous women have been raising alarms about the amount of women that went missing in the time frame that the media has been covering her.
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly.
because there's, they go missing every day there.
Oh, oh, yeah, and I'm sure that's all with trafficking.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
with trafficking. Jeez. Oh, and they wonder why we're paranoid. Yeah, I
Hmm.
tell, well, all the kids, male and female alike, don't go anywhere alone.
I agree. Just and it's funny, like we can't say that things have necessarily advanced when I feel like in so many ways not a lot has changed except but the number of the year.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think,
exactly.
yeah.
Now, if you draw a history timeline and you look at it's like relatively little has changed. Like you said, there have been some changes, but all in all, no, we still have to go through. We still have to fight for where we want to live.
Yep.
You see black men being pulled over because they have a nice car.
Yep.
You still can't go into a store without being, and I have been followed and watched many times, sadly. Just assuming that you don't belong here, or you can't afford to be here.
Yep.
So it's sad, sad.
And on the other hand, we've come a long way, as at least as black people specifically, of I see so many people like myself wanting to know more and trying to get in touch with themselves in general and redefine who they are, and
Right.
not let this country or the government or society try and box them in as to a means of what black is, or what African or Afro
Mhm.
is.
Right.
And I do see a lot of good things as far as like people breaking down those barriers and defining what it is for them specifically, which I think
Ooh.
helps to further breaking a lot of change and chains and a lot of cycles,
Right.
because I think that's
Right.
part of
Yeah.
the problem is cycles.
Oh, yeah. I love it because, like I say, you see, you're not going to define who I am, what I am, where I am. But, and like I said, I've seen, and I love Facebook only for this, was that I see a lot of posts which you won't see in mainstream media,
Right.
like the 24 black women that graduated from the West Point
Oh,
officers.
I did not know that.
Officers, and there was a number of women, black women, who graduated and were lawyers. Black men who are surgeons and doctors and all of this type of. But and I love it when they put that on Facebook, but because you'll never see it in mainstream media.
You won't. I mean, even just the case that I was just talking about with the serial killer in St. Louis, that wouldn't have gotten out if it wasn't for social media sounding the alarm on it. Mainstream media never
Right,
picked it up. There's a
right,
situation going on. They're calling it the Emmett Till of 2021. There's a young man that was killed by this white couple, and if it wasn't for social media talking about it, they would have never even gotten charged.
mm,
So I mean, there is
that's
a great power in us taking to like social media and whatnot. Even though
yeah,
I have a bone to pick with some of them like Facebook and lack of privacy and things like that. Different things.
right,
It's two parts to a whole. There's good to it, there's bad to it. It's how we utilize it, and we do have
right,
to be very mindful that we have to be very delicate of the choices we make with not even just social media but the internet in general, because say like 20, 30 years down the road, we don't want to sit back and be like, what have we done?
yeah,
We
yeah,
want to we really want to, like, these are crucial times, and I think no one's really paying attention as much as they should be.
right. Oh, definitely, definitely, because we are being watched, and everything we post is being watched, and like
Got
you
that
say,
right.
I've so many friends, particularly African American, are in as what they call it, Facebook jail,
Yeah.
because they posted what they thought, what they felt, and
Well,
Facebook
guess
didn't.
what, cousin? I'm one of them
Yeah.
right now. I'm hitting day 2 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't even do anything. Like, I'm not going to say, sometimes I have posted some risque stuff that was me speaking my mind, nothing necessarily wrong, but maybe just the nature of the things I've always posted, I'm seen as radical, whatever. Okay, I get it. But this time, I was talking to somebody else. I was commenting on one of my friends' pages, and I referred to myself as an idiot. Like, oh, Jontel is such an idiot. But I was talking about myself. And they
Yeah.
flagged it and said it went against community standards. I debated them and told them that they were wrong, and they came back with an answer saying that they were going to go ahead and ban me for 3 days because I called myself an idiot.
Oh, for crying out loud. Yes.
So yeah, but these right wingers can say whatever they want, and
Right. Oh
yep.
yeah. Oh yeah. It just. I have no words. Well, I could have words for it, but I would be dead too.
Well, how about this for a positive note? I don't know if you heard about the whistleblower about Facebook.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Happens to be a woman. A woman
Yes.
is the person who sounded the alarm based off of morality.
Right.
And I cannot commend her enough, because the things that she was saying, for one, she spoke to how young girls are seeing themselves, because, well, Instagram is owned by Facebook. So
Right.
Facebook runs Instagram, and they've known for 10 years the negative effects that Instagram has on young girls, but they continue to keep it as it is and make money off of
Yep.
it. And she definitely stood up for young girls. She definitely stood up for morality and tried to get the committee, the panel, to really question what
Oh yeah.
Facebook's intentions really are. And about how it definitely played a part in what led up to the insurrection, and it was some deep
Oh yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I would like to keep an eye on her and make sure that she stays safe, because I don't trust Facebook in that light.
Right. Well,
But
now, so because of all that, we really shouldn't trust Facebook.
right, right. No, I at this point, my posts are happy birthday, happy anniversary, and how is everybody? That's it.
Right.
I'm keeping it. I have to go back old school and hit the phone. But
You
when
know
there
what?
are things that uh, are some things, but just have to be posted though. I some things I can't let go.
Yeah, yeah. I think again, it's just we got to use it. We have to be very wise about what we do and where we do it. And again, yeah, like this whole thing that's happened with Facebook and all the stuff around it this past week. I think especially for business owners has really shown that we do have to make sure we maintain our own little address book and keep it old school still.
Right.
Because this new world is not bulletproof, it's not solid, and we have to be mindful of that.
Yes.
I do
I
want
agree.
to I want to touch on some other things on a later date because we do have to get ready to wrap up. But
Okay.
I just want to know if there's any other things that you do want to talk about, concerning women, concerning Lancaster County history, or even concerning the Christiana resistance.
Well, what I will say, and this speaks to history in general, to advise people to look into your own history, look into your own family, see where they were when certain events in history occurred. You have no idea that your family may have participated. As I said, there were many, many men from Pennsylvania that traveled to Massachusetts and joined the 54th, which was, they were based on the movie Glory. There were a couple of men from Coatesville, many men from Lancaster and Columbia. There was just an enormous amount of men. There were, I think, over 500 men from this area, from Pennsylvania, that traveled to Massachusetts and fought with that unit. As far as you and I are concerned, we had 12 men, ancestors, that fought in various United States Colored Troop units.
Wow, that's wow.
And it's just it's amazing once you look into the history and you find that your relative was here or there, and then you look at what was going on around them at that time. It puts you right back into history. So I encourage people, and I do help with genealogy. I hold genealogy workshops, and I will do one's genealogy for a small fee. But it's important to find out where you came from, and I like to say that your roots, as they say.
That's right.
And it's just amazing. I had no idea that our family have been in Lancaster County since 1830.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, then we have to be one of the oldest African American families around here.
Wow. Do you happen to know where we came from prior to 1830?
The Thompson side came from Maryland on the Eastern Shore. As I said, the Thompsons, there was Native American involved there. The other side, which was Quamini, from all over, I found them in Virginia, as well as Massachusetts. And the name Quamini itself, I've traced back to the Ivory Coast in Africa.
Wow.
We have a long history. Yeah, I've
Wow.
actually found runaway slave ads for the Quaminis from the late 1700s in Virginia.
Oh, you're gonna have to send me that. Yeah, we've got so many juicy stuff to go over and talk about.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And excuse me. And we're gonna have many, many, many more of these kind of podcasts. They won't be as long. We'll kind of keep it short and sweet for you. But I wanna share Darlene with you all and the wondrous wealth of knowledge that she has. It's important that this information gets out and that it's there for people to soak up, especially more particularly Lancaster County history, and specifically to Black folk. But again, Black history is American history.
Exactly.
Do you have how can people contact you?
A lot of them can go right through the Christiana Historical Society Facebook page, or they can get me through my email, which is Quamony, Quamony, at AOL.com.
I'll put that in the comments.
Yeah. So yeah, up there at, if you have questions, anything, hit me up there.
And that's Quamony at AOL.com.
Correct.
Gotcha. And yeah, again, it has been a pleasure. There was so many different things going on at the Christiana Resistance Commemoration event that I am going to go over it again and talk about it on another date with you when we get into the actual event first.
Yeah.
But this I really wanted to touch on, just talking about women in general and kind of soften people up to this whole story. Because it does hold a lot of significance, and there is a lot more to it than people think, I think. Again, there's the email. And I do want to talk to you more about some of these. I wrote some notes down about stuff you were saying. So when we go off air, I do want to talk to you about that really quick.
Will do.
But everyone, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, and we will be back again with tons of more information about the Christiana resistance, about local Lancastrian history, and I have so much more other stuff coming. I will be back on air soon to talk about the Kellogg strike and some other little block drop pieces as well. And then I will be sharing photos and video footage from the Christiana Resistance Commemoration event also. So stay tuned for that. You do not want to miss. Here's a couple of pieces while we're at it. Just stay tuned.
Leon. Blah.